Alrighty, guys. Thanks for tuning back into another episode. We are on episode 11 of the No Fire podcast. We got a great episode in store for you guys. Some hard hitting topics with some interesting stuff to talk about. So I have a couple topics prepared, but I want to start off by talking about sparkling water. So I'm on this new kick right now where I'm trying not to drink. Obviously not trying to drink soda, but I don't normally drink regular soda. I drink zero sugar soda, but it has some sodium in it, and I always crave several zero sugar sodas. Like I want to drink like 3 or 4, and I would limit myself to maybe 2 throughout the day. But most of the time, I would get a soda that has caffeine in it, and that would just increase my daily caffeine consumption. And my caffeine consumption is already really high. I have about 400 milligrams, and then the extra sodas would add in like another 100 milligrams. So I was having like 500 plus milligrams of caffeine every single day. And I don't need to feed my caffeine addiction more caffeine than what I'm already feeding it. So that's where sparkling water came in for me. I've never been a fan of sparkling water. I don't like sparkling water. It's just spicy water. I don't see the appeal of it. It's just I'd rather have regular water over sparkling water.
Okay.
It's just more like appealing. Do you like sparkling water?
Not really, no.
I don't know. Maybe I just thought most people don't like sparkling water, but maybe that was just in my head because I didn't like sparkling water for so long.
I mean, you've had one that I've liked, like literally one, but I don't really try them often.
Right. So I started, testing the waters with sparkling water maybe like a year and a half ago. My brother would always have bubblies, like all the time, just on deck, and he'd have several throughout the day, as opposed to, drinking soda throughout the day or something, other caloric drink that was taking up calories. And I would have one every now and again when I would go over to my parents' house. And it's not that I absolutely hated them, but in my head, I absolutely hated them. But I would drink them while I was there and kind of pretend that they were not sparkling water and that they were just like bad soda, basically. So maybe I tricked my mind into getting like that carbonation kick from something. I like that now. And now I feel as if I'm addicted to sparkling water.
I'm sure you are.
Maybe I just have an addictive personality.
Yeah.
Just trading one addiction for another. But I think in this case, this is a beneficial one.
Yeah, this is a better one.
I would say. I still love me some zero sugar soda, though.
I know you do.
Well, and that's another thing. It's like growing up, I never had zero sugar soda. I always had regular soda.
Yeah.
Not diet, just regular soda. And then when I became more like fitness conscious and I started counting my calories, I think that's when I started drinking zero sugar, like anything.
Yeah.
And I started having zero sugar energy drinks. And then that got me into zero sugar Gatorade and zero sugar sodas.
Yeah.
And I never went back to the regular stuff. So zero sugar became the new regular for me. And it tasted normal instead of having this weird aftertaste that I always felt like it had previously when I just drank regular soda. But I mean, if you don't give yourself the real stuff and you only have the zero sugar stuff becomes the new norm. So we can go ahead and hop into the relationship corner. I was searching far and wide for a relationship topic to talk about. And every time I hop on Google and I type in relationships, always the same things pop up. It's like, oh, well, what are the hardest years of a relationship? Or like, these are the main issues. And it's like finance and this and that. It's all stuff that we've already talked about. So I decided to go on Reddit, and there's like a r/relationship thing on Reddit, and I was reading through them, and I could read one of them, but they're all like hyper specific to like a certain thing, and I wanted something that was a little more broad. So I was trying to get like an idea of something more broad that could just be more than one person's problem. It could kind of cover like, maybe you have dealt with this in the past or you have an opinion on it. So one of the things that I came across was taking a break in a relationship. And I know for me, it like triggers like a bad thought process of the words like take a break. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to get your opinion on it before I tell you how it makes me feel. Like, if your partner's like, I think we need to take a break, what goes through your head when you're thinking that?
That they temporarily want to see other people.
That's what you think?
That's the first thing I think.
I think previous to like what my mind goes to now, I used to think take a break is like, oh, you just need to like reflect and like calm down for a little while and then come back to the relationship with like a refreshed, mind.
Yeah, but like, does that mean that you are not in a relationship in that time that they're refreshing their mind?
Well, I think that's a question that like the partner would have. Like, what do you mean take a break? Like, what are like the rules of this break? Like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah.
And obviously in everybody's head, like the situation is going to be different. I just think ultimately take a break. It shouldn't be a thing in a relationship. Then you're no longer in a relationship. You're breaking up at that point. Like, if you're taking a break, you are breaking up. Mm-hmm. You are no longer in a relationship.
Yes.
I didn't think that. I had a girl tell me that she wanted to take a break, and I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, let's do that. Yeah, it didn't end well for me, but
yeah.
I don't think that taking a break is like a viable option for your relationship. It's not going to help the relationship.
Yeah, because there's not like a waiting area in relationships. It's not like you can be like, oh, let me just get into this middle area for a little bit where I'm like not with you, but I'm not with you. So right. We're not together, but not together. Like,
yeah. So if say you guys are taking a break and somebody like, do you delete your social media status? Like, or do you no longer have them in your profile picture? Are you still in a relationship on Facebook? I
feel like the person who asked for the break will probably change all of that.
Yeah, I would think so too, because if you're saying that you want to take a break, it's probably in pursuit of someone else, I would imagine.
I hate to say it that way, but yeah, a lot of times it is that.
Yeah. I can understand if you guys get in an argument and you want to like take a couple hours to clear your head or think about things.
Yeah.
But like, you could take a break like that.
Yeah.
But you can't take a break like, let me not see you for like a couple weeks.
Yeah, no.
I don't think that works.
Like I said, there's no waiting area in a relationship, so it's like
you're either together
yes or, no.
or you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one way or the
between.
other. Because if you take a break, that person's not going to want to talk about what they did on the break, and then you're going to have trust issues going back into the relationship, and then, you should just break up.
Yeah.
I think you just should.
The break is a breakup.
So those of you trying to take a break with your partner, just break up with them. Be the bigger person. Don't dance around it.
Do it to it.
If you want to break up, then just break up. You can use those words. It's okay. We're all adults here, at least in my head, in this scenario that I'm thinking. But yeah, there... like, a lot of the stuff that I come across when I'm looking up for relationship stuff is these relationship experts. How do you become a relationship expert? You study it in college? I don't think so.
Could be a thing.
Maybe you study like how the human brain works.
Social behaviors.
Yeah, but it doesn't. I don't think that makes you a relationship expert, because a lot of, and maybe I'm getting this from like TV shows and movies, but like the therapists, like marriage counselors and stuff, have horrible relationships with their partner.
Yeah.
So how are you gonna counsel somebody and give them advice on what they should be doing when you can't even hold up your side of the bargain there? Like, what are you doing?
I know, pot calling the kettle black.
I don't know. It seems that way to me. And maybe their advice is great, but a lot of the stuff I find online just seems so stupid and unrelatable. I'm like, this is not helpful to anybody in this process.
Yeah. I can see that.
One of the things I saw was talking about like how many times should you text your partner throughout the week? How many times should you see your partner throughout the week? And some of the different things was like, you should only see your significant other once throughout the week. And I was like, well, that relationship's not going to work out.
Mm-hmm.
Once?
Yeah.
How are you going to foster that relationship and build something successful seeing someone 15%, or maybe not even 15%, maybe you're not even hanging out with them the entire day, maybe it's fucking 5% of your life? How are you building that relationship? You're probably scrolling on your phone more than you're hanging out with your significant other.
What were the other time frames
for like how often to see them?
Mm-hmm.
It was once on the weekend, or it was once midweek and once on the weekend. I could understand if it's a brand new relationship, and I'm not saying you have to go on a date or anything.
That's what I was thinking. Like maybe it's a new relationship.
But like you come over, you guys watch a TV show together. You come over and you cook dinner and you hang out for a little while. You know, you go out and do something fun together. I don't know. That's just a foreign concept in my head.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just a very like attached person, but if I'm in a relationship with somebody, I want to be spending a lot of time with them. And if I'm not, then there's probably a problem. It's probably not going well.
Probably not.
Yeah. I don't know. Relationship stuff is kind of funny to me sometimes, especially the advice that people give. I was scrolling through all the different Reddit posts, and I was like, you're just putting your own opinion out there and not being constructive or helpful at all. Like these people that are commenting on these posts, like you're not helping anybody in this situation.
Yeah, for real.
I don't know. People are stupid.
Yeah, I know.
So I wrote a lot down about this next topic that we'll talk about. So we'll go ahead and close out the relationship corner.
Closed.
I think we covered that topic. I think we're both in agreement on that. This next topic, every time I see like a social media post about it or just anybody brings it up, it really bothers me.
Uh-oh.
And I get really worked up about the situation, and I don't want to be. And it like kind of puts this like pit in my stomach, and I'm like, you just don't understand because you haven't been in this situation. So let's talk about tipping culture. So tipping culture has changed over the years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when people used to refer to tipping culture, it was only reserved for basically wait staff.
Mm-hmm.
Your bartenders and your servers, and that was it.
Yes.
But the world has changed, especially since COVID. There's different services that are provided now than previously, and there's different tipping cultures throughout different industries as well. I remember, you know, taking my car in for the first time to a mechanic by myself without my parents and thinking, should I tip them? Like when I take my car to the car wash and I tip them, but I'm not tipping my mechanic. So like how far does that tipping culture extend?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'm a generous person. If somebody asks me for, you know, not like directly ask me, like give me a tip type thing. But if there is an option to tip someone, 9 times out of 10, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
There might be a scenario where I feel like it's not justified. Like I remember going to a vape shop and them flipping the iPad around, and I was caught up super off guard because I was like, oh, this interaction was at most like 30 seconds. And they didn't necessarily help me pick anything out. They didn't make any like
suggestions.
They didn't make any suggestions or anything. And it's like, I spent like $80. Like, am I supposed to leave you like $10 to $20? Like, I was like kind of like, whoa, because the options were like 15 to 20%. So it would have been like $15 to like $20 basically. And I was like, oh, I kind of don't want to tip here. And it's okay to feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of the situation you're in. If you don't feel like you deserve to give somebody a tip, then don't tip them. Plain and simple.
Okay.
If that's how you feel, then don't do it. I'm not saying it's acceptable to go out to a restaurant and run your server ragged and leave them 0 tip because you don't feel like it's your responsibility. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you're at Starbucks and you order a coffee, you're not obligated to tip them.
I tip at Starbucks.
Yeah, so do I. But I'm saying you're not obligated to.
Yeah.
But this is what gets me so worked up about it. So I had to write a bunch of stuff down because I knew I was going to get off track and just ramble about things.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to be very specific. So I'll read this and then I'll let you kind of say your piece, and then I'll try and move on to the next portion of what I wrote down. So there's a lot here. And being somebody who's in the service industry, obviously I have a very skewed view of this. So I try to look online. I try to be unbiased and think of different like reasons why people would be upset with tipping culture. And I read a lot of things, and honestly, it just made me angry because it was like so one-sided. It was just how they felt. It wasn't about the culture of it or the other person. Their reasoning was just not thoughtful. Personally, is how I felt about it. But like I said, my view is a little skewed. So first thing I want to talk about, obviously, is we're in America. Tipping culture is a thing in America.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to other countries, specifically ones where tipping culture isn't a thing, you will see a drastic difference in service 100% of the time. The servers in America are working for that tip. The people in the other countries aren't. And that is 100% reflected. So anybody that's been to another country knows that.
Interesting.
And people talk about it all the time. It's a known thing. So that's just one thing. So I was looking up, trying to be my own devil's advocate in this situation. So there's a survey, and this was just a Google search. It could not be realistic, but this is what it said online. It says that 66% of Americans have a negative view of tipping, whether that's the barista flipping around the iPad or whether that's a full-in dine-in service. It didn't specifically say.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where the survey is like, well, that's not really a great survey then,
mm-hmm.
because it doesn't give you enough context to go off of to really base it. Do you think 66% of people have a problem tipping?
I feel like that's a very high number.
Way too high.
I don't know if I necessarily feel like 66% is accurate, but I mean, I guess I'm judging that off of the part of town that I work in, which isn't necessarily fair.
In my bubble, everybody's totally okay with tipping. I don't know a single person that I'm close enough with that has either expressed it to me or I know that like doesn't tip at all, at least. Everybody that I know either tips really well or tips something at least.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head who doesn't tip.
Yeah, like nothing. Everybody that I know leaves something.
They don't like tipping.
Right. They have a problem with tipping culture.
That doesn't mean that they're not gonna.
Right, exactly. So a lot of the arguments that I saw online was that they felt like the owner of, said restaurant or business was putting the obligation of how much this person should make on them. That's not true. The obligation of how much you tip that person is up to you, but there are guidelines to that.
Mm-hmm.
If you got great service and you tip 20%, that's perfect. If you got great service and tip 15%, that's totally fine too. Here's the thing. On every receipt that you're going to get at a restaurant, it's going to give you 3 to 4 options on how much to tip.
Yep.
If you think your service was great, pick the highest option. If you think your service was, shitty, then tip less. There is a guideline to go off of there. You're not completely tossed up in the air and said, we're not
Don't
making
know what
you
to tip.
Yeah, no, you know what to tip.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Okay.
And it's been that way for a very long time. This is not new. This is not something that just came out of nowhere.
You're right.
Restaurants operate on razor thin margins. Product costs and wages are going to take up most of their profits throughout a day. They're going to there'll be days where they operate at a loss. Every single restaurant, no matter how successful it is going to operate at a loss sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always to the benefit of the customer. So a lot of what you see online is, somebody complaining about a tip that they got. I will never be that person. I would never post on social media and be like, this person didn't tip me and I had to do this, that, and the other for them. I would absolutely never do that.
Yeah, I don't ever do that either.
A lot of the comments that people get when they do post something like that is, go find another job.
Mm-hmm.
You signed up for that, or your employer should pay you a livable wage or more money, or whatever the case is. And here's my argument for that. So if a restaurant were to pay the servers more money, first off, they're going to cut down the wait staff. So you're not going to have as many servers like serving on the floor. Say there's normally 10, they're going to have 5. So that means you're going to get 50% amount of their time as you normally would. So already your service is worse. Second off, that tip is an incentive for me to work as hard as I can for you to give me that money.
Mm-hmm.
That is the incentive of a tip.
Yeah.
Is you do a great job, and most of the time you'll do well. Sometimes you don't, and honestly, I'm okay with that too. So you're going to get worse service. And here's the thing that a lot of people don't know about being a server. If you think being a server or a bartender is easy, then I promise you've never really done it.
Yeah.
Maybe you worked at some breakfast restaurant or something, or you served here or there. If you think it's easy, you haven't done it. You really haven't. Because it is an incredibly physical and mentally taxing job.
Yeah, it really is.
As a server, you have this thing called side work. That side work is a whole nother job that you're doing the entire time you're there.
Yeah.
On top of waiting those tables, you're doing a minimum wage type job in the back of house that the customers don't see all night long.
Mm-hmm.
When you stop taking tables at the end of the night, you have closing side work that takes you anywhere from 45 minutes to 2 hours while you're not taking any tables, not making that tipped wage. It's not like it's just, let me chat up these people at the table and get paid a stupid amount of money and then go home. That's not the way that it works.
No, not in the least bit.
At the end of a shift, you've done 10 to 15,000 steps. Your back hurts. Your muscles are fatigued.
Your feet hurt.
And you have a headache.
Yeah.
You don't get breaks in a restaurant. You don't get a paid hour lunch. There are very few benefits that the company actually gives you.
Besides the money you make.
And I just think it's funny that people are like, oh, well, the company should pay you more. Corporate greed is always a thing.
Yeah, always has been, always will be.
And it's not going away, and it never will.
Yep.
So let me stop babbling for a second and read one of these other things I have written down. I mean, I feel like I covered a lot of this stuff. Oh, one of the things that, people would say is like, oh, the company should pay you more. And one of the rebuttals was, something that would similarly go through my head is, if the restaurant were to pay us more, so you take away that 15, 18, 20% tip that you'd normally be getting.
Yes.
Then your bill would probably be more than 20% more.
100%. They would have to.
So, yes, it's no longer your obligation to choose how much to tip them, even though you have those guidelines so you know how much to tip them. But your bill is going to be more expensive than if you would just always tip 20% no matter what the service was like.
Yeah. I don't think that we've ever gone out somewhere and we've gotten some terrible service.
Oh, horrible.
Quite a few times. And I we're not like judgy. Like we are totally understanding when it comes to like being in a restaurant. We know how it is. Like we never rush the server, but there has been quite a few times, and at one point we're like,
more
why is
often
it that
than not?
Yeah, I'm like, why is this always happening to us? Why do we always get terrible service? But we have never tipped under 20%.
Yeah, and I never will.
But you give us good service, you're probably getting like a 40% tip.
Yeah,
it's just how we are.
We know what goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah,
like you could be running around for a table and there are 15 other things that you have to do while you're in the back.
Yep.
You'll go and greet a table and you'll get a drink order and you go to the back and there's no glasses. You offered them bread, but there's not even bread in the oven. There's none in the warmer. You have to go to the back. You have to grab a box of bread. You have to bring it up. Then you have to open the box. You have to load it in the oven, set the timer. You have to go grab a glass rack, put it in there, and then you get over to the drink station and there's no ice. So you got ice, and then you go to get your customer the Coke Zero, and the Coke Zero is out. So then you have to go to the back. All the while, everything that you're picking up is like 50 plus pounds.
Yep.
And it's slippery and wet, so you're watching every step that you're taking. You're hunched over in weird positions. You finally get the soda changed out, and you start making drinks. You get back out there, and it's been 3 to 4 minutes. Not to mention, something like that along those lines is happening every single time you come to the back, no matter if it's grabbing an extra dressing for a table. There's always something that needs to be done.
Yeah.
100% of the time, even when it's slow. You get back to the table and they're like, thought you weren't going to make it back. And they have no idea. And you just have to put a smile on and, give them some witty comeback that makes them feel, happy about what they said or justified because you are working for that tip. So that's what it's like to be a server.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even get me started on bartending.
My brain just went, while you were talking about that, I was thinking about kegs blowing and glass breaking and dishes being dirty and don't have any mule mugs to sell. Like I like dream about work. I guess I have like nightmares about it. As more of like, am I consistent reoccurring server nightmare? So I have a reoccurring bar nightmare and a reoccurring server nightmare. The server nightmare is always in a different scene. Mm-hmm. It's always like I could be working at like a beach bar, or I could be working at like some nightclub, or like it's always something different. Like I'm always in a different scene.
Yeah.
But my server nightmare is always being sat an outrageous amount of tables and not being able to get to them.
Yep.
I just sat you another one. I just sat you a 4. I just sat you a 6, and I'm like, I didn't get to the 4 you sat before that. Like, that is constantly my reoccurring server nightmare. My bar nightmare is a little bit darker. I don't know if I've ever told you this. I just told somebody at work this the other day.
What about you tripping and the pour spout going through your eye?
You were standing there, weren't you?
Yeah, I have scars all over my hands because of the pour spout.
That's why I have that nightmare, is because I've cut my hand so many times from going to get a bottle. Mm-hmm. And that's what, when I worked at Bar Louie, that's really where, because there were so many bottles like together that when you were like going through them, I was always messing up my knuckles.
Yeah.
And I have that reoccurring nightmare. I trip behind the bar and a pour spout goes into my eye. That's how I die. In my dream. It's sick.
One thing I remembered people were saying is like, I'm not paying an unskilled laborer a tip because then it's going to like make them comfortable and stay there. There aren't many good servers or bartenders out there.
No. I
would say out of every 10 server or bartender, maybe 2 are good. Like, it's not easy to be good at that job. Like, you can be good at talking to people. You can be good at aspects of the job.
You have to literally be good at multitasking. Mm-hmm. You have to be physically, like, fit enough to where, like, carrying the plates or doing the side work, none of that stuff is, like, really going to affect you.
If you see somebody that's not physically fit working a service industry job, they probably... The people in the back are holding them up because they're not holding up their part of it.
It's physically draining doing the job. And then you also have to like keep on a fake face most of the time because people say stupid shit all the time. I can't tell you how many times I've greeted at a table and somebody says, "Is that your real name or your stage name?" That's fucking offensive. Don't talk to me like that. And like, I have been in the industry long enough that like when I was younger, like it used to genuinely hurt my feelings when people would make like comments like that. Now I am grown and I am set in my ways and I don't care what people have to say. Like, I love that my name's different. I love that my name's unique. I've met one other Sapphire, but her name was spelled like a stone, and she went to my summer camp, my basketball camp. Never met anyone else with my name spelled the way that it is, you know, pronounced the way that it is. My middle name's unique, like, and that used to hurt my feelings. And now I don't care. I call them out. I had somebody say that to me at the bar, and he was like, "Is that your real name, your stage name?" I was like, "That's actually very offensive. It's my real name. What can I get you?" Those ladies recently that made some commentary about that, like, usually it's men who say something like that, but like when that woman said something to me, I'm like, "You're another woman talking to me like that. That is like the ultimate disrespect."
Yeah.
You do not speak to somebody that way about their name.
That's a huge red flag for me, is anybody who disrespects service industry workers, or just like any workers in general. If you're just automatically off rip disrespectful to someone, huge red flag.
Yep.
Character flaw. You're just a piece of shit.
Yeah.
You just are.
You're
not a good person.
And I don't, like, obviously at my workplace, like, I can't like really do much about it besides like, you know, stand up for myself and, you know, tell that person that they were being offensive. But like, besides that, I just have to fucking be nice to them. And that is like really hard for me when someone's like been rude to me or nasty to me. Like, sometimes when they're at the tables and they're being like sassy like that, like, I'm like, whatever, not a big deal. But like when you have to sit in my face like that and you say some shit, I just,
because you feel stuck.
Yeah.
Just like, where can I go to hide right now?
You can't.
Yeah. And with all this complaining and babbling that I'm doing, I am incredibly thankful for the opportunity that I have, because it allows me to pay my bills.
Yeah.
You know, it's not easy, and we work really hard. A lot of us work really, really hard. And yeah, I'm just thankful to have the opportunity to be in the situation that I'm in. And I am very thankful for tipping, because out of 100 people, maybe 1 or 2 doesn't tip anything. Almost every single person I come in contact with will give me a tip.
Yeah.
So I know in some way that they felt like I deserved that.
Yeah.
And I feel like I deserve it.
Hell yeah.
If you're somebody that doesn't tip, you should seriously try serving for at least 6 months.
I think everybody should do it, just to have a taste of what it feels like.
Because you're going to have people that you feel are so close to spitting in your face without actually spitting in your face on a daily basis.
Yep.
Multiple times a day. And not a day goes by where you aren't severely disrespected.
Yeah.
And that's just the life that we chose.
Yeah. Don't even say that.
Yeah. Well, it won't be forever, because working at a restaurant is almost like being in a toxic relationship. It keeps you coming back for more, but you hate it so much.
Yeah.
But that's where we're at. That's all we can do with it right now. Let's see what else we got here. So I wanted to tell a quick story. So I recently started counting my calories again and weighing out my food. And after weighing out your food for a certain amount of time, you kind of get this thing in your brain where you're like, oh, this is probably this amount of grams, probably this amount of calories. You get a really good idea of how much something weighs and how many calories it is for specific items. I'm not going to say that I can just look at something and be like, yeah, this 165 calories.
That's like me with plant pots. I can look at it and tell you how many inches it is.
Yeah. So I started to reweigh things because I wanted to kind of reacclimate like my brain to the weight of things.
Yeah.
So I'm weighing out peanut butter in the morning. And I'm like, oh my God, is this how much peanut butter I've been eating in the morning? Like, I'm having almost 500 calories of peanut butter and like nearly 50 grams of fat in the morning with every breakfast. Like, that's terrible. I didn't know I was eating that much. And so like a day goes by, the next day I'm making breakfast. I'm like, okay, well, instead of, using all the regular peanut butter, I'm going to use some powdered peanut butter because it's really low in fat, much less calories, just overall like a healthier option for me. So I put it on the scale and I put a scoop of the powdered peanut butter, and I know exactly how much 1 tablespoon of this powdered peanut butter should weigh, plus or minus like a couple grams. Well, it's way more. And I'm like, well, this isn't right. Come to find out, so I go to like check out the scale and see if it's calibrated correctly. So I go grab a couple nickels and I put them on. So I put those 2 nickels on there, and I put the first one on there and it was 10 grams. And then I put another one on there and it was 20 grams. So a nickel is supposed to weigh 5 grams. So everything that I was weighing out was double how much I was actually eating. And I had logged my food for several days, not knowing that my scale was so off.
Did you order a new one?
Oh, yeah, it's here already.
Okay.
I weighed out my breakfast this morning.
Did you get more fulfilled?
With how much I was eating, yes. Instead of my breakfast being like 800 calories, it was like 400 calories. So it made a massive difference. If I can give one thing of advice to people who are looking to eat healthier or, start some type of fitness journey, download a free app to count your calories. If you want to pay something, you want to really get into it, try Macro Factor. It's an app that's kind of like MyFitnessPal, which most people have heard of, but it's way more detailed and it's really intuitive. And if you pay for a year's subscription up front, it's like $6 a month. So it's not super expensive or anything, and it's super worth it. But you don't have to do that. For near free, you can buy a $10 or cheaper scale off of Amazon. It'll ship to you in a day, and it will give you a whole new perspective on how many calories you're eating. And yeah, it will really show you like what's going in your body. It'll show you the nutrients breakdown on MyFitnessPal, even the free version. It'll tell you how much sodium and cholesterol and protein and fat and carbs you're taking in. And you're on your way to being healthier just by doing that, just by having that perspective.
Yeah. Totally.
It's very insightful. Has there been anything that's happened in the last week that you want to talk about?
Are you hinting at something?
No, I'm not specifically thinking of anything. I'm just asking if there's anything that's been on your mind that you want to get out into the open for these 2 other people that watch our podcast.
Nothing I can think of, honey. We talked about my crystals last time.
Yeah. What's the update on there? Have you gotten some more posted on your website?
I've added a few more, but it's more about finding the time to actually sit down and wrap them. I have like such little time in between everything else going on.
Yeah, it's hard to find the time. Sometimes I just want to quit my job and just, pursue other ventures that don't currently make me money, but I wish made me money.
Yeah, I get that.
Like yesterday, I wanted to film a YouTube video, and I had like this like passion in the morning. I was like, oh, I'm going to film this video. Like, this is going to be fun. I'll start doing this other thing. And I got around to the time where I was like, okay, I've knocked these couple things out that I need to get done. Like, I have a window where I could work on a couple different things. And one of those things was that YouTube video. And I was like, okay, let me like write some stuff down that I would want to talk about in this video. I couldn't come up with a single thing other than like an intro to the video. I was like, I don't even want to watch this video. Like, so it's hard sometimes, even when you have like a passion for something, to keep that creative inspiration going. Yeah.
It's a creative momentum for me.
Yeah.
Like, I get these bursts of creativity, but I'm just trying to focus on my crystals and not do all the other things I like to do, which is really hard for me. Yeah. But I haven't touched anything else in a little bit. I've been focused on the crystals. It's just hard.
Yeah, it is hard. Like, a little thing will like spark inspiration in your brain and you want to do that thing. And it's like, well, I should focus on the things that I currently have going. And it's hard sometimes. We have so much going on, we have basically like 4 jobs each.
Yeah.
And, 3 of them are very part-time, and then one's more like a full-time job that actually pays our bills. But these other jobs, they take up a lot of time. Like this podcast, yeah, we only film for maybe about an hour, but setup, breakdown, everything around like getting to this point, minimum of 2 hours plus.
Yeah.
So that's just another added thing into the week. That's like a scheduled thing that we need to make time for.
Plus grocery shopping every week. And
well, that's not a job. That's just
job.
Adulting.
That's a job.
Well, it feels like a job, but it's not.
No, I'm just saying that incorporating with our side things. And
I'm talking about the things that we choose to do.
Yeah, like our side hustles.
Yeah. Our side hustles that make us no money.
They will.
Yeah, hopefully. They will. They will. I know I need to be positive about all aspects of everything, and there's more that I could do with each situation, but sometimes it's hard.
No, I get it.
Just it's hard to stay motivated sometimes. Yeah. We always come back to this portion of it. Maybe that's what our podcast should be about.
What? Lacking motivation?
Lacking motivation, no. Starting side hustles. Once we're successful at them, then we could teach people about them.
Yeah.
I'll teach people about how to be salesmen.
Yeah, you will.
I don't like actually selling things. I like teaching people about things, though.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's different.
It's just more entertaining to me. Gives me more fulfillment.
I get that.
Being like a coach in a way. That's kind of why I wish I was better at baseball growing up. Mm-hmm. Like if I played high school ball, and because I feel like if I could work a job where I coached people, you could charge a lot of money for that.
Yeah, I'm sure you could.
I was just never at the level where I was ever good enough to be like, yeah, this is the way you should do things, because I was never good enough. But a lot of people that teach and coach things were never very good at that beginning thing to begin with. So
that's true.
Just the way that it is.
Yeah, that's true, though.
All right, well, I guess we can call it here and go get our chores done. That's what I'll call them. Grocery shopping isn't a side hustle. No. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. Tune in on Thursdays for the No Fire podcast. We post the video every Thursday and the audio format every Thursday on Spotify, video format on YouTube. You can check out our social medias on Instagram or TikTok. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you guys next week.